Tape Deck Media.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing. So you're based in Minneapolis. Is that where you started comedy?
Yeah, I guess I started technically in like St. Cloud, which is, for people who don't know, about an hour outside of Minneapolis. But I would say I really cut my teeth in Minneapolis. That's where I started to seriously pursue stand-up comedy. Absolutely.
When did you start?
I started around 2014. So we've been going for a little bit here. I had been working as a journalist at this small town kind of newspaper and wanted to try something different. Got dared by a friend. He said, "You'd never do stand up." I said, "We'll see about that." And then I did it. It didn't go too terribly. Surprisingly, my first time is not where my bombing story will come from. But yeah, so then after that, we kind of took to the streets and started doing it a lot more. And now here we are.
That's wild, because I lived in Minneapolis for like 3 years and our paths did not cross. And I went to St. Cloud too to do comedy. Like we have a lot of the same mutual friends. Can you hear that train that's just being super annoying?
I can't hear it.
Okay, good. That's going to be like a new drinking game for this podcast. How many times does Dan ask the guests if they can hear the train? Because I live right next to the train tracks.
Me too.
And they run trains all the time.
And
it's always when I'm recording. But it's just wild that our paths never crossed. I mean, granted, it was during COVID, but I was just like, yeah, just weird how that works.
I do want to say, this is a weird time to bring it up. I was actively avoiding you. I didn't want to cross paths with you, so that's what happened.
Oh, okay. Well, now I know. Now I know.
No,
I knew I wasn't liked.
No. So what time? When were you in Minneapolis?
I lived in Minneapolis from 2019 to like 2022 or
Gotcha.
Yeah, 2022. Yeah.
So the real thing is, I was gone. I was in New York. So
well, that explains it.
Yeah, I avoided you so much. I went to a different state.
You went to a different state.
I left Minneapolis in 2017, and then we moved back in 2023. It'll be about 2 years.
Okay, so yeah, you're pretty much gone the while. Okay, well now that makes more sense as well.
Yeah.
Our paths never crossed.
Yeah, don't feel bad. there's no ill will on my end. I was just...
No, absolutely. It's just, but it's weird because it's, you get into the comedy scenes and it's easy not to, especially in larger markets where you might not work with people.
Right.
I've seen that at like comedy festivals where people will come from New York or New York City or whatever, or LA, and meet at the festival, and that's the first time they're meeting. They didn't meet in their own scene. So
it's kind of a beautiful thing.
It absolutely is.
That's what I liked about New York, is like you really could find all these different pockets and different scenes. And to be the kind of comedian that I wanted to be, I was like, well, I want to go to all of these places, or as many of these I can feasibly go to in a night or a week or whatever, a year. And it is cool to kind of see like, oh, wow, you can just fully exist over here and not really exist over here. And in Minneapolis, there's like a smaller version of that, like you're not going to have like Brooklyn versus Manhattan versus Queens, but you do have some people who are like, yep, I am a, RIP Comedy Corner Underground comedian. That's where you'll see me, or you'll see me at the House of Comedy or Acme or whatever. And like, yeah, but my favorite comedians always preach the gospel of going everywhere and trying to do well in every room that you can go in. So you'll see me if you're in town, I'll be around, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's get into the fun part of this podcast, which is the bombing story. We've all been there. We all
fun
have
for you.
Yeah, it's fun for me to watch my guests relive their misery.
Yeah. So Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about. I don't know. I went through the archives. I really thought about them. Like, what? First of all, like, what constitutes a bomb for me? I think is important to talk
Hmm.
about, um, because I
Well, that's why I
remember.
always say, it's called art of bombing, but it's always like bombing story or just a show that was bad. Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
sometimes the show just goes bad because of different elements that are out of
yeah,
our control. But it's still a bad show, and
yeah.
we don't feel good about it.
Yeah, this one, what I'm gonna say definitely was my fault. I'll tell you that right now. I was I was not. It was on me. But I always like to, because I think early on there are people would be like, oh, I'm just gonna go up there and bomb. Just I feel like when you're young as a comedian, there's this thing of like, oh, I'm gonna bomb and I'm gonna get out of the way and then I'm never gonna do it again or something. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Nope.
And when you're young and naive, you
That's
don't know that, right?
that's the mentality that really kind of brainwashes your mind. So
Yeah.
then when you do bomb for real, it hurts so
Yes.
much worse. Or
Yes,
it's a
because
delusion.
exactly, because you're like, oh, I thought I was past this, but it's like, oh no, no, no.
Yep.
This is the boogeyman under the bed. This could come tickle your ankles at any point in time. You don't
Yep,
know.
ticking time bomb.
Yeah. So for me, I had to, when I'm going back through these experiences, I had to remember, because I've done bad show. I talk about this a lot. I've done a show at what was essentially a wake. I've
Oh
done
man.
bad corporate gigs. I've done shows I'm not ready for. I've done outdoor shows. I've done lightly attended shows. I've done huge shows I didn't do great at, whatever, all this stuff. But for me, I know it's a bomb. I get this little bead of sweat that starts dripping down my back into my like lower back area, and then it just dribbles into your ass crack, and you're just like, oh, I'm bombing right now because my ass crack is wet. That's how I know I am
You got an
not.
indicator.
Yeah, yeah. The moisture alert is going. Like that's how I know when I'm not doing great. Okay, so this is one of the most visceral first times I really remember that. Um, I so we mentioned New York. I had just come back from New York to visit. And I think this was probably within the first year, maybe even first 6 months. I booked a gig featuring at Goonies Comedy Club in Rochester, which I believe just closed or is closing. So RIP to another
RP
club, I
another
guess.
club, yeah.
Yeah. That's also a theme in comedy, is that these clubs will not be there forever. So, just hold yourself accordingly, handle yourself accordingly.
Right, exactly.
Um, and so I had been in New York long enough to like start feeling myself. Maybe got like a couple new bits that I felt confident about. Maybe thought I shook off that Midwest, whatever, Midwesternist. And like, oh no, I've been in New York for a year, not
I'm a
even.
New
I'm,
York
I,
comedian now.
I might as well be freaking Bill Burr or whatever. I don't know what I thought I was, but I remember being like circling this gig on the calendar, this feature gig on the calendar, and being like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do two shows, and do about half hour each show. I'm gonna tape that. I'm probably gonna take that tape, send it into. I think Comedy Central was like in its death
Yeah,
gasp or whatever.
yep.
But I was like, and then this was a thing in New York. People would be like, oh, I'm taping my 30-minute set and then I'm going to send it in. They always thought we'd send it into Comedy Central or Netflix or something. So I was like, I'm going to tape these 30s. Goonies is notoriously, all my friends are like, it's a great club. Everybody has a good time there. You're going to love it, blah, 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 blah. You're going to kill. I'm like, man, I'm gonna do these sets, and I'm probably just gonna get famous off of these 30-minute sets, I guess. I guess I'll just go to a good club, be a really good comedian for 30 minutes at a time, and then just I don't know, wait for the money to come in. So I'm flying back to Minnesota. I'm hemorrhaging money on the flights, and I'm taking a gig that probably is paying me, I have to imagine, collectively probably not over $200
Yeah,
for
you
two.
probably spent more on your flight
Oh,
than
easy,
you
no
made.
question. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was for a unnamed booking agency in the Midwest that I know for a fact has never paid me more than like $250. So I'm guessing it was pretty light. And but it's cool. It's like, okay, I'm driving to Rochester. All right, that's fun. So I'm not only a New York City comedian, I'm also like this road dog. I'm also gonna get to go out there and let the people know in Rochester how we do it out on the East Coast. And First night I get there. First things first, I'm wearing the shirt that I used to really like. It was like kind of like it was like salmon, teal, white. It had like stripes on it, whatever. And I just really felt confident. There's not a lot of things I feel confident in, but I'm like, this is something a little bit different. It's not a black shirt. I'm gonna go up there. They're gonna know that I'm a little bit different. I'm a little bit interesting, whatever. Check in with like the owner, and he goes, "What's going on with your shirt?" He just that was the first thing. He's like, "The shirt's pink. What's going on with that, or whatever?" And I was like, "Uh-oh, that if the shirt is a problem, the act is going to be a problem. If this is rallying you up already, if you're getting upset about what's happening here, you're for sure not going to like my jokes about slavery. You know, you're not going to like all my jokes about how racist Minnesota is." So I I can't remember if there was a host or not. I feel like it wasn't, but no, there had to been. Okay, so when a host goes up, probably does fine. And I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going up. So it doesn't even matter how the host goes. I go up to what I'm gonna call a solid, let's say I did 30 minutes. I don't know if that's true. I'm gonna say I went up and did probably about 27 and a half minutes of silence, like dead, like getting
Whoa.
nothing, like jokes
Oh.
that work aren't working, jokes that I have never worked. I'm trying just to see, I'm grasping for straws. I don't remember the beginning. I don't remember the middle. I just remember nothing working and it being one of the most quiet sets I've ever had in my entire life. And again, I know I'm bombing because the crack is moist now. Now there's a little dribble in the crack. We're not feeling good about ourselves. The back is wet, and like I'm just sitting there and being like, what is going on? This is crazy. And I've featured before. I featured in Minnesota before. I've been to different places. You know, if not Rochester, like places similar, right?
Yep.
And I just did not understand what was happening. And I remember, I don't know if I still have this clip, but I had it for a while. I would watch it to remind myself. But I had a clip of the set. I taped it, obviously, like I said, because I was going to give it to Comedy Central to get famous. And I just remember the last thing I said being, well, those are all the jokes. So I'm going to go. That's all I got. And then I just go, have a good night. And then I just walk off to like a pitter patter of clapping and whatever. Everyone's just clapping because they're happy I'm done. And I go, I mean, obviously that wasn't me. That was the crowd. That was they were not good. They were terrible. Headliner goes on, starts crushing immediately. And like this is a headliner who's part-time, like no shade to him, but part-time comedian, honestly, more in the real estate realm than anything else. Hadn't done a gig in a while, probably. Just came up, did the hits. They loved it. They borderline would have carried them off if they could have. And it was so clear that it was just me. It wasn't the host. It wasn't the headliner. It wasn't the room. It was just straight up me. And that was so hard to swallow that I remember just kind of walking out of the venue. There's a movie theater nearby, and I just went, just saw like a, I don't even know if I saw a movie. Honestly, I think I went to the movie theater. It was too late to see a movie because it was like it's like a two screen town or something. So I
Yep.
just went into this empty movie theater where all I saw were kids who had just seen a movie that I wanted to see happily like walking out, and they're just being like, wow, isn't it so fun to be young and alive? And I'm like, I want to be dead on the floor of this theater right now. And then after that there's still another show. I still have to go back and do one more. I think it was a it was tough. It was a tough night. But we survived. But that's the one I think about still to this day. When people ask me about stuff, I go back to that moment and be like, that's how you know anything can sneak up on you, especially if you're feeling cocky and confident. That's that's when you're gonna trip over your own
hmm
shoelaces.
Do you feel like that was a contributing factor, your overconfidence? Like, I mean, because there's a, having confidence and being,
Mm-hmm.
knowing you can do the job and do it well, and then
Yeah.
being overconfident. Well, like you said, where you almost become cocky about it.
Yeah, I think it was overconfidence. I think I was putting too much pressure on myself. I think nowadays I would have been like, just relax. Maybe you'll find a good tape. Maybe you won't, but it's fine. Like, don't be like you have to get this right.
Hmm.
It was a tough. I was doing too much, and I've learned since to like do less, and more will happen.
No, that's
like
that's a great perspective on that. You're absolutely right. Because I even find that for myself, there was a running joke for a long time that if as long as there wasn't a camera recording, I'd do
right,
great. But as soon as if I remembered it, and it would be like situation where I'm like, I need to get a tape for an audition or whatever, festival
right.
submission. I'll set up my camera and forget to hit record, have the best set. Then remember to turn on the camera and just it's awful.
Yeah,
And I became
yeah.
yeah, it kind of became a running joke about me. If I wanted to have a good set, don't record.
Now, tale as old as time. You're not alone in that. That's a lot of us where it's like,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of the same energy, right? It's because like, well, there's more pressure on it now. I gotta
Yep.
step this up. So that's why when it comes to recording, I'm a big advocate of like bring your camera every set, basically. Like,
Same. That's I have a whole extra hard drive, like a
yeah,
2 terabyte hard drive that is just nothing but comedy that of
yeah,
my comedy videos from same because that's how because it also I found and I don't know you probably it's probably similar for you, but one thing I found by recording everything, you get over the nervousness of recording. You don't feel the pressure because you're always recording anyway. So it becomes
yeah,
part of your process of doing comedy. Like this
yeah.
is part of me getting in oh, I'm getting ready to do comedy. Part of me getting ready to do comedy, setting up my camera, getting getting that all ready to go, hitting record, then going and doing my set.
Yeah, because we'd already been doing that thing of like, okay, I'm going to record every set on my audio recorder or whatever.
Hmm.
It's like this is just that, but a little more external. You know what I mean? You
Yep.
can't put it in the back of your pocket, but if it's part of your routine, then you're not going to get rattled when like they're like, oh, hey, can you film this real quick? Or hey, we need a tape from you. You're like, okay, yeah, I got you, no problem. I can do this. It's part of the thing I normally do, and
Yep.
I would get more comfortable. Sometimes I open for people and I will record their sets too, and I realize like yeah, the more I do this, the more comfortable I become with this camera and this equipment. And like, that's good to know too. So, like, hey, is my shirt like, is the balance off because of my shirt?
Yep.
Is the person before me like, okay, so I'm a black person. Is the person before me pasty white? Because that's going to change how the camera look like. Am I setting it for them or am I setting it for me?
Yep.
Is it blurry? Do the light, all this sort of stuff that if you have a little more experience, you're not really worried about as much. Whereas if you're just doing it because it's the one big gig and you need to get this, you're scrambling. So
Yep.
as with everything, we work our jokes, right? We work our craft. We might as well, if we're going to become amateur videographers anyway, we might as well work that part of it too and be ready for it.
Yep, absolutely. That's great advice there. Yeah, especially, getting to know the equipment because yeah, that's something I didn't even think about. I usually just do the autofocus, but because I just use a phone for can't recording
Yeah.
mine, but I have a
Yeah.
really good video capabilities on the phone
Yeah.
that I use, but knowing some of that stuff is huge, and thinking about what you're wearing, going back to that shirt, but just in
Yeah.
general, because sometimes you're not going to get a good tape if you're wearing the same color as the background.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
If your
Yeah.
shirt's black and there's
Yeah.
black curtains, you're just gonna
Yeah.
look like a floating head.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Wait, I do want to say, I just because this is bothering me now, I realized something. I mixed two things together. The shirt was the next day. The
Oh,
first one
gotcha.
was the black shirt, and I bombed. And then the next day, I was like, "Well, what the hell?" And then I bombed with the owner, and I think the other set went okay. Probably because I was like, "Hey, I'm wearing a fun shirt. This guy hates me. I got nothing to lose. Who cares?"
This is the last
Yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah. They're not having me back, so I don't care. But yeah, but it was such an interesting weekend and such a wild experience. It was one of the most lonely. Oh man, this makes me think of something else too. But this is one of the most lonely gigs I'd ever done, and it was like, oh, this is what being a road comedian is. I am right
Oh
now.
yeah.
I am a early low level road feature, and boy, was I feeling it at that time.
Yep.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that people don't realize, and especially younger comics, that when you start working the road, it can be a very lonely situation,
Yeah.
especially when the shows don't go well, because you
Woo!
ain't got nowhere else. I mean, you've only got
Yeah.
a few places to go because a lot
Yeah.
of these road gigs are in smaller towns and there's not a lot to do.
You do not feel connected to the world when you're bombing at a casino on like Christmas Eve and you see a
Yeah.
fam. You're sad already, and then you see a family who's celebrating Christmas Eve at this casino, and you're like, I don't know, maybe we're all sad. Maybe it's all bad. Like it's just different, man. It's a
Yep.
wild. It's a very wild experience sometimes.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, obviously you had some takeaways on that about, being more, trying to be more relaxed and just kind of have fun and like take
Mm-hmm.
away the stakes or the pressure, trying to get a good tape. But were there any other takeaways? Did you like when you watched the video, were there things that you're like, "Oh, maybe I could have did this different?" Or do you just think it was just kind of I was just overconfident and it blew up in my face?
Yeah, I could have brought a gun on stage and threatened them to laugh. I guess I don't know. I think sometimes this happens. Like I I got to know the rooms that I'm walking into, and not all comedy clubs are created equally. Not all comedy spaces are created equally,
Yep.
and like I'm not gonna pander, but sometimes I can be like, okay, maybe we don't. I think, and that was back at a time where I feel like I would come in hot a lot. Like if I had a joke about eating ass or something, we're opening with it. If I had a new joke that I like, we're opening with it, and instead of kind of like warming people up to let them get to know me, I would just be like, this is what it is, and this is how you get to know me. And I think sometimes certain places that's just not going to work, right?
Yep.
And that happened to me in New York. I remember a big show, another thing where it was a big show, but I'm like, it's like, oh, there's people I want to see me on here. I want to do well. I want to get a tape. We're starting with this bit, and then that bit doesn't go, and then you're just like, oh, the sweat happens, and you're like, oh. And I think it's just a matter of getting comfortable, learning how to like ease people into, maybe not ease people in, but just like you don't have to be. I came from a space of being like, I need to get your attention. Like I was used to standing in the back of a bar in a chair being like, stand-up comedy is happening right
Yep.
now.
Good
And then
old bar
yeah,
show,
right.
or as I call it, hijacked comedy.
Yeah, exactly. So like you're like, okay, you're not ruining someone. This isn't a surprise ruining of someone's night. They're actively here to see stand-up comedy. You don't have to go crazy right now if that's not who you are. Like if that's who you are and what you do, go ahead. But like if you're a little more low key to start, be low key. If you're a little more like you got to ease people in, that's okay. And I think that's kind of what I learned is like, okay, like maybe I should have reassessed the jokes a little bit better. And again, like so in Rochester, Minnesota, I don't know how many people outside of Minnesota realize this, but that's where the Mayo Clinic is, right? So
Yep.
that's where these people. There's a lot of people who probably come from the Mayo Clinic who are either there, someone they care about is there, or they like work there and they're trying to relieve stress. And I'm like, so do you guys ever wish that Y2K would have happened? Do you wish that slavery, huh? Oh, whoa, the race war is coming and like all this stuff, and they're just like, yeah, I just tell a family that their child had cancer, so maybe we just talk about sandwiches or whatever. So like I think my vibe was the headliner's vibe was so different than mine, and he
Hmm.
did so well that I'm like, I think that was part of it too. Was that I don't know that I had the tool set to like win the room for sure, like maybe for a few minutes, but I didn't give myself the best. I didn't put myself in the best position to even do it. I think from
Yeah.
my start and just how I was approaching it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's talking about that too, like, the scenario of the Mayo Clinic being there and then people coming, for, obviously medical reasons and all that things. We often forget that, when we're up there on stage, we don't know what people are through, but
Yeah.
they're there to forget about whatever they're going through. That's why they come to a comedy show. They want that comical release, if you will,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. And people pay a lot of money. Like sometimes, it's a club where it's like the tickets are $35, there's a 2 drink minimum, whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, you gotta remember as much as it's about you and how good you feel for the performance, at the end of the day, you're working for them. You are a
Yep,
performer,
absolutely.
and you gotta find a way to marry like what you're trying to do with what they're trying to get out of it, which is to have a good night and have a good time.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we're gonna start wrapping up, but you have, speaking of video and recordings, you have a new special that's out.
Oh,
Talk
I thought you were
about
going to talk
that.
about this. I thought you were going to talk about the sex tape. Whew, yeah,
No,
I do have a special.
well, I mean, we'll get to
Yeah.
that. That's the bonus episode. That's the
uh,
Patreon exclusive.
yeah. I do have a new special out on YouTube. It's called Supple Harlot. It's on YouTube for free. And it's on the digital album is streaming right now. And it would be a huge help for anyone who's listening who wants to support an artist. You can find it on Bandcamp. You can find it on like Apple Music, all this sort of stuff. Download the digital album to let them know that people care about what I'm doing. And I think the digital album has like a couple bonus jokes and all that sort of stuff. It has some cool artwork, so you can check that out. But yeah, if you want to follow me on anything, I'm at Shaq Katzner on everything. And subscribe to my YouTube. I drop stuff there, and I've got podcasts and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. I'm out there. I'm out there in the comedy streets. You should
Except for
definitely,
when Dan's in Minneapolis.
except for when, yeah, then I go into hiding. That's absolutely right. I don't want any comedy
We are
gang
now
warfare.
mortal enemies.
Yeah. But
No, I love it. What was the
yeah,
process like preparing for your taping, and where did you tape it?
I taped it at Sisyphus Brewing in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
very nice.
The process was it was interesting. I talked to friends who'd self-produced some stuff before. I didn't have any for the special aspect of it, the filming of it. I didn't have anybody do it with me, so I was producing my own special and shooting my first special at the same time. Um, for the album aspect, the audio of it, Blonde Medicine stepped in, and that's who I'm releasing that through. And they were a huge help. You know that they're great in the sense of just connecting me with like sound people that I wouldn't have had access to
Hmm.
before, and letting me use the album sound for the special. So the special sounds incredible, looks incredible, and all that sort of stuff. Um, Mostly it was like I just had a friend, my friend Peter Wong, who's done this before as a New York comedian, very funny. He was like, you just have to set a date and then you just have to do it. And I
Yep.
was like, okay, I guess that's what it is. So I set the date, set it up with Sisyphus, and then got terrified. Then it's like, okay,
Yep.
this is
The real
coming
big one.
up. Yeah. And
Did you
it's like,
do multiple shows or just one show?
we did two shows. That's the level I'm at. Some people go there and they'll be like, "Hey, we're doing six shows." I'm like, you know what? Let's work on one, and then we'll fill that out, and then we'll do two. Like
Yep.
I'm a two-show person for sure. But so it was me and my director slash editor slash friend Jeff Stonick, who's out of Denver. I don't know if you know Jeff, but
I know Jeff. Yeah.
yeah, he's
Oh, he came and
incredible.
shot it?
Yeah, Jeff did
Oh,
it.
amazing. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
so he's like we'd met at a comedy festival, and he just does such good work. I loved everything he was posting on Instagram. I'm like, that's how I want my thing to look like. I know there's certain people who do certain things, but I'm like, this is how I want my thing to look. And then we talked about how we wanted Sisyphus itself to look. We changed, like, we make sure that we shout it out, we pay homage to it, whatever, homage, whatever, I don't know the word, but
Yep.
we made sure that it was like, yes, we are at Sisyphus, but it looks different than any other special that's at Sisyphus. That's because of like literally Jeff going to Menards and being like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna crush these lights. I bought curtains from Amazon and then sent them back to Amazon after we were done with the special. Like,
No, that's a good
yeah,
hack right there.
I'm telling you right now, like, this was
Use that refund policy.
high concept, low budget. Like the money that I spent, I'm like, I want to give it to the openers, and I want to give it to Jeff, and I want to give it to, like, if we need the best camera to do this, well, let's pay for the best camera to do this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
And then it's just like the jokes. Um, that was I've been doing this for long enough. I just hit 12 years actually. So I guess I started a little bit in 2013, but I don't really count that. But so the jokes were the joke. Like the jokes is like you have this plethora of jokes to go back through. But the special jokes were like, I remember the first show, I'm like, I'm doing all this. I wrote off the set list, I did all of it. And I'm like, some of these didn't go the way I want. I'm switching it up. The ones that I really wanted, I'm like, these need to make it for sure. We're gonna put them more at the top. It was kind of a lesson it's taking that bombing lesson from Rochester and being like, okay, let's switch it up a little bit. Like this didn't work. There's no reason to have to do it again. Like you
Hmm.
can adjust. Like it is a special, so like you have the time. It's okay. Like if a joke doesn't go over, you fumble or whatever, I remember being like, hey, you can stop and reset if you want to. And
Yep.
just that thing made it so I didn't have to. I stopped putting so much pressure on myself. And I was like, hey, it's okay. Like, yeah, there's a live audience here, but they're here to support you. They understand what's happening. It's all right, chill out. And then the second show is what we use for most of the special, most of the album, and I just had so much more fun. I feel like, and I really had a good time, and that's where it all came about.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah, we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes to the special on YouTube. Thanks for taking the time to do this. This was fantastic.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. This is great. I'm glad to relive my deepest, darkest horrors with you. This is great.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.